What's up, guys? We're live, and I'm gonna just quickly jump in here and try and connect with Jordan, the Gray Witch, who will be doing lives together tonight. So you can either watch it here from. Oh, she's already inviting me here. You can either watch it here.
Welcome, everybody. Justin, you're back, my friend. You're back.
I'm back, right?
Welcome.
I got my live access back like 3 hours ago, or less than that even. So it's
Perfect.
nice to be back.
I was
Pick up
just
where I left off.
I was just singing your praises. I was saying we got cut off last time. We were just gonna pick up where we left off.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yes, and everyone, again, if you didn't see my video on my other channel, I do apologize for being insensitive with my vocabulary. Like Jordan said, we're still growing out of some bad habits from millennial era humor, so it's not funny anymore, and I do apologize. So hopefully we can just move on.
Very
And
good, my friend. I'm sure everyone appreciates
yeah,
that. We appreciate it, and also, everybody makes mistakes. That's how you learn. It's how you grow. It's the whole point of this
yeah.
whole of us all doing it.
I know it just sucks when that happens too, because you're like, I genuinely am someone who wants to be a hero and stand up for people who don't have a voice and are mistreated and things like that. And certainly, like people in the community of those with intellectual handicaps or disabilities, like of all people, those are people I want to stand up for like the most. So, yeah, insensitivity to the language.
It's a very it's a vestige from our upbringing, and it was used
Mhm.
so flippantly in our vernacular that, like I said, even Bill and I will struggle sometimes, and you're like, because you go to say it in a way that's funny or in a jest, and it's not just that word. There's loads of them that we shouldn't, and that just happens to be one of the ones that will slip out sometimes. So it's all right. I'm sure the audience forgives you, and moving forward.
Yeah. But I think that we're talking about DeSantis actually a week ago.
Yeah,
Well, I'll be careful this time, but
yeah.
it's just getting worse from where I left off. But yeah, it's
So much
crazy.
worse. It's so much worse. My man literally just signed like the most restrictive anti-trans legislation. I mean, we're seeing a mass exodus out of Florida. My family included, my friends included. I know you're planning on leaving Florida as well. I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, like we moved around a lot I was a military kid also, so I was always moving around. But I went to high school in Florida. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I moved back to Florida, and I've been in Florida now for 7 years. And this has really been sort of like my home state for a long time. And we are looking at houses to purchase in Pennsylvania right now. So
Yay,
um,
my state.
I know I can't wait to get closer up there to Jordan and Bill. We can't wait to all hang out together. It's gonna be so fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's yeah, there's a mass exodus happening, like you said, and there's already I have a TikTok pin that I'm gonna duet later probably, and it shows just like already some of these farm fields that are just empty and construction sites that are empty because they can't find. There's a labor shortage already because people are fleeing the state. So
Yeah, a lot. I know a lot of the Hispanic workers, the undocumented workers, and that's the thing is that America is built on these immigrants. That's who built our country, was built on slave labor, and then of course now prison labor and immigrant labor is essentially how America still runs. And for a governor to take away that right for these people to work, there are no people that are American born that want to work picking fruit. There aren't people that want to put up buildings that even have the, knowledge to do so in the
mhm,
way that these people are doing it. And I saw the videos too of all those empty job sites.
mhm.
There's going to be a mass labor shortage in Florida, and it's hard to watch. Just see like the economy absolutely going to tank because of
Oh, I
one.
know.
It's
Well,
not.
dude, I like we actually just sold our house in Brevard County, which is on the east coast of Florida, like just a few months ago. And I actually did it in anticipation of there being a downturn in the housing market. And DeSantis is just making that worse. And we were looking at it last night, and the property I just sold has already devalued 2%, and it's just been a few months, and it's already worth less than what the buyer bought it for. And it's just been a few months. So the market's really already turning around, at least in Florida. I can see it. So
So I saw someone actually saying, and we'll get to the deconstruction stuff right after this point, I promise.
Yeah.
So I saw someone saying that DeSantis was doing this intentionally to drive the market price down so that all of his rich friends could pick up all the cheap real estate and then in a few years turn over a huge profit. But it's
Yeah.
really going to crush all the small people, the small businesses, and the people that are just trying to live there. It's really going to be problematic for them, but they don't care about the little man. They only care about the big fish getting richer. So I saw that happen and I was like, that makes sense. That's why he's doing it. Not only is he pushing all the blue voters out of the state, but he's pushing
Mhm.
people out, driving the prices down so that all these rich dudes can just pick up all this cheap property.
Would surprise me a bit.
Yep.
Would surprise me a bit. It's all about power and money for these people.
Sickening. All right, my friends,
Control.
we'll get back to our deconstruction talk. I know I'm not sure exactly where we left off last week, but there was something I wanted to ask you because you commented on one of my videos and you mentioned how women in sort of like evangelical teachings. Now, I didn't grow up under this. I'm aware of it, but I didn't specifically grow up under this. They cause men to stumble, and how me just existing is considered like a bad thing, right? So
Right.
I just wanted to ask you, like, from your perspective, like, what you're taught that, when you see a woman that you think, oh, like she's pretty, like she's evil. Like, what goes on in your mind, like, under that teaching?
Okay, so I'll teach it the way I taught it myself, and I don't know how it's going to come out and sound, but the idea was that because of original sin, man is in a fallen state of consciousness. So we don't think the way that is holy and perfect. Of course, I know. Just let me go. We don't think the way that we're supposed to. We don't have the urges and desires we're supposed to because our flesh is condemned to its sinful nature. And so our sinful nature is one of consumption. Like a vampire, our thirst can never be slated, and we're destined to be hungry for something that won't satisfy us forever. And that includes lusts of the flesh, which are things like sex, food, alcoholism, drugs. But sex is obviously the pertinent issue here. So what I believed was that the natural instincts of a man, which is to recognize certain shapes in nature that are attractive to it, right? I mean, on the most fundamental level, I think everyone can agree that when a man, from an objective, like robot almost view with no personality, when a man scans the landscape of his vision, when he sees certain objects and shapes, he is immediately like red flags turn on, and they're attracted to it. They want to see more of it. They want to investigate it. They're interested in it. And so it takes a righteous man to recognize that as a threat and to instantly change your mind about the way you're thinking about this person. And I still think that that's, to an extent, like that's a good direction to go. Like you don't want to just objectify everything you see. That's just ridiculous. So it starts with this denying the flesh of its urges to overeat, overdrink, or overlust after women. But specifically, I was in Torah, so we believed that marriage, according to Torah, was polyamorous, actually. So as we see all through the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, uh, they all had multiple wives. And in fact, the Torah permits multiple wives in at least 2 or 3 places, not just in the storytelling, but in the actual laws. It says when a man has 2 wives, and there's a law about who inherits the man's goods, the wife of the first, the son of the first wife, or the son of the second. So
Not the
it's
wives, not the wives, the sons of the wives.
yes, exactly. Yeah, the wives were possessions, and they didn't really have possessions of their own. They were the managers and keepers of the men's possessions, including the men's children. So from my perspective, which is probably different than some Christians go, "Oh, look, it's a hot girl. I shouldn't be looking at her." And they have this wage this war that Paul talks about of spirit and flesh and things like that. And they go, "Am I going to do the right thing or the wrong thing here?" And they struggle, they stumble over what they're seeing. And so the church teaches the women likewise that If they love their brothers in Christ, then they'll do their best to to help them help protect the brothers from falling into sin by lusting after them,
But
by
does
hiding those shapes and curves and crevices and things like that. Skin, you
right.
know,
So
that would
it's
be the what I believed.
super interesting because I grew up under well, both atheist and Catholic upbringing. I had both, but I also had the choice. And my Catholic grandmother, she really never said things like this to me. Like, it was never my fault if a boy looked at me, right? This isn't really taught under that, or it wasn't taught in my household. So what she taught us was always keep your hands to yourself, never touch somebody unless they ask to be touched, things like that. So she was very much, equal when it came to it, but she was also very much, oh, be ladylike, ladies cross their legs, like, never touch your face. There was little things that she would say that I think were maybe relics of just her time period as opposed to the religion specifically. But I just found it interesting because I was just like, oh yeah, the stumbling. Because when you mentioned that, I was like, that's so interesting because women are inherently blamed for men looking at us. And it really
Yeah,
doesn't matter what I'm wearing. Men look at me. Like, I can be in sweats
right.
and a t-shirt with my hair in a bun and no makeup on, and there's still a dude when he drives by, if I'm walking down the street, that's hanging out the window screaming at me. It doesn't matter, really.
Yeah.
So that's why I always found it funny that, that they sort of put all this weight on the women
Mhm.
to cover up. But in reality, the women in, let's say, the Middle East, they're completely covered and they still
Mhm.
deal with misogyny. They still deal with catcalling. They
Oh
still
yeah.
deal with SA.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Totally. It's just it's like you said, it's a relic of a patriarchal religious system that I think still exists in the conservative world, like pretty extensively. Even people who aren't. I watched some really crazy debates just for fun. I watched debates from these incel types and people who are super alt right, far right, and some of them just downright hate women. Um, and it amazes me like the perspective that some of these dudes have on women. It really is. I can't think of where else it could have come from than from this. Like, even when they're not Christians, they still have these like hyper patriarchal attitudes towards women. And it's like, man, to me, this is like you said, relics of like an old bad tradition and society that are just slowly dying, but they're still there, even in non-Christian circles too, but Christian circles especially.
A lot of sort of like the hate groups in general, whether it be the white supremacists, all these terrible groups that hate other certain groups of people, and these groups are almost always extremely misogynistic and look at women as either lesser than or property or objects. And I think that really roots back psychologically to the hatred because people who hate others in reality just hate themselves and they're projecting that hatred of themselves onto others. And if they devalue someone else, it's because they don't value themselves. And if they are valuing something about themselves, they're valuing something that they have no control over. For instance, where they were born, what color their skin is, things like that. We have no control over what gender we are, over what skin color we are, what anything about us. We have no control over that. We have control over who we are as people. And I find people that want to feel elevated for something that they have no control over, it's because they have nothing else to offer. So they have
Mhm.
to elevate this idea in their mind like, oh, well, it's because I'm male, it's because I'm white, it's because of these things that makes me better. But in reality, it's because they have nothing else to offer that holds value. So they have to desperately cling on to these hateful
Yeah.
ideologies because not only do they devalue themselves as individuals, they can't allow us to know they don't value themselves, so they project that onto others. And,
True.
and that's rampant within, Christian ideologies. We see this all the time. The people, what they want to hang on to is that sort of that belief, right? That makes them better, which is what makes it so difficult to let go of because that's all they have.
So true, man. It's so true. It comes down, it boils down to at least insecurity and fear. Totally.
Yep.
Like you just nailed it. Like you preached it like the best. I mean, you're right. I think. what I'm hearing from a lot of these people is that they're very, very, they're really, it stems from insecurity and it stems from the fear of missing out, I guess. And it causes them a lot of anger. I guess they feel like um, uh, women expect too much, and the women of today aren't going to let them like be the alpha that controls, that dominates the situation and everything. And that makes them afraid because then they don't understand how to control or live with a female outside of that one dynamic that they've been so focused on for so long. Like this is what it's supposed to look like and how a good relationship looks. And so when you say, look, no, it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, it's so much better, any way else. But especially when they were equal, when it doesn't work that way at all. That scares them because it makes them think, well, if I didn't have absolute authoritarian control over my wife, then certainly she would just not make me dinner and not take care of my kids. She would run away. She would cheat on me. She would, if I give her an inch.
But like from my perspective as like as a feminist, I say, well, be somebody who's worth making dinner for. Be
Exactly.
somebody who I want to be with. Like I don't need to be with my partner Bill. I don't need him. We don't
Hmm.
need each other. We could survive without each other. We're not codependent in that way, like a lot of these people are that are in these situations. We choose to be with one another. And I think that men like that are inherently insecure about having a strong woman is that if they give their women a choice, they know their women wouldn't choose them. That's the problem, is that they have to control them because it's the only way they can keep their women. So what they do is they beat their women down, they degrade them, they say that they devalue them, they emotionally and sometimes physically abuse them. And it's so sad that they have to do that in order to keep somebody. If you have to make somebody feel smaller in order to feel big, that's a you problem, babe. Just be better, be bigger, be better about yourself, and then her light won't blind you. When you're working on the same level with somebody, if somebody is intimidating you, somebody that you're with, then that should be a wake up call for you to be like, damn, I gotta work harder. Like, look at her out here, like busting, like, and it's the same with me, regardless of the gender of the person that you're with. If I see my partner out there doing stuff, like that just motivates me more to want to do more, right? And so I think a lot of these insecure men are the ones that are like, oh, she can't do too much, she can't wear too much, she can't look too pretty because then she'll realize what a piece of shit I am and that she could get somebody better.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's so funny too because it's like they work against themselves. Like when you have a relationship where you're the number one fan of your partner, then everything they do that's wonderful is just like makes you so happy. You're so proud of them. Like I'm more proud of her than her dad ever was, or even more than her kids are, because her kids don't even understand her as well as I do. And vice versa. If anything good happens to me, she's just like fuck cheerleader number one. Like she has the signs, the body paint, the bullhorn, and she's freaking out. Like she just wants to push me to the top.
Your partner should be your biggest fan. Like if your partner isn't hyping you up, if your partner is trying to drag you down, I don't know who needs to hear this in the audience today. If somebody isn't your biggest fan, they are not worth being with you, babe.
Mhm.
Find someone who is your fan, who's going to be there for you, who's going to be there not just to cheer you on, but to help you when you're down as well. It's both sides of the coin. That's what relationships are. And I just feel like there are so many people out there that they're afraid of their partner doing well because they're afraid that if their partner goes too far ahead that they'll leave them behind. And it's like, well, babe, keep up, it's okay.
Keep your shit real. Keep it real, man. Come on. I mean, if if your spouse or partner's success brings out an insecurity in you, then that should tell you automatically that you have growing to do. Because, of course, deep down in your life, in your heart somewhere, you know already that you shouldn't be uh, bothered and bitter about the success of the person who you supposedly love. Like, that should never bother you at all. Like, and so if it does, then clearly there's something going on. Like, and that insecurity could be, like you said, she's a reflection of my laziness or my inability or my lack of beauty or my lack of attractiveness or whatever it is. But the funny thing is when you become your spouse's or partner's cheerleader, they just fall more and more and more in love with you. Like, it's not some simp thing, like you have to hold someone's purse and never talk. Like, if that's the dynamic of relationship that you're in and that works for you, I'm not, who am I to judge? I'm just saying that it doesn't take away from your masculinity to give props where they're due and to support people. Like, it's like almost like they think if they give a compliment to someone else, it like takes away from themselves. When
Oh.
it's such a narcissistic way of thinking. Like, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. Like, do you want their light to shine, or are you trying to like put it out for some reason? Like, what's your, you know?
So something that really changed my perspective when I was in my 20s and I was sort of dealing with insecurity issues and I hated myself, and we go through these growth phases where we really have to like look ourselves in the mirror and be like, something has to change, right? When things aren't going right. And something that somebody told me was, jealousy and insecurity are indicator emotions. It's an indicator that you need work in that area. It's not something you should suppress, that you should be embarrassed of. It's a normal emotion to have. But if you're having that en masse, if you're having loads of jealousy issues and security issues, you have to check yourself and see where that is coming from. That's essentially your check engine light for something needs addressed here if I'm feeling this way. Because when somebody has something that you look at and you're like, wow, I wish I had that, that should inspire you. That should be like, oh, I want to get to where they're going. And that's kind of how I look at it now. But like there was a time where I would see somebody that had something that I wanted and I would get mad about it. Like, well, fuck them. They have this new car that I don't have that I want, and they must be a piece of shit because of it, right? And then you understand when you felt these emotions from that perspective yourself, and then you do the work and you heal yourself and you realize, oh shit, I'm feeling that way because I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling envious, things like that. And then you realize that those indicator emotions are just a sign to work on yourself. And people who don't realize that, and people who never work on themselves, who are existing under these emotions of fear, anxiety, jealousy their entire lives. And then you get boomers, right? Then you get people that are so toxic later in life that they've never addressed their emotional needs. They've never grown emotionally. And we've got these people that are just like, man, well, you can't have, they want to climb up the ladder and then pull it up behind them and be like, well, get up. I got up. It's fine. I got up. And we're like, bitch, you had a ladder.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I think that that's one of the like driving forces that causes some bitterness from what I've experienced from the older generation to ours and younger is like it's almost like to an extent they might even realize that they were in many ways duped, like but in many many ways duped um, medically, with their diet, with what they're supporting, with their patriotism, with their just in many ways they were duped, and they realize it. And some of them are even awake, if you want to call it that, to some of these ideas, but they're still mad as f that we don't have to go deal this with the same shit they went through. And so it just that's why you see a lot of them get mad about technology and stuff. They're like, oh, what is this stupid thing? Like when I was like, and to an extent, they're kind of just like they feel like their success is becoming obsolete because things have changed so much that the rank system that they climbed is no longer as relevant as it used to be to us who
Yeah.
are younger. And so there's like the separation of like a feeling of superiority and they deserve respect and they've done the things. And then we're down here like, well, we don't really care and we don't really want to do those things. So, and that really pisses them off. Like,
This is really interesting because I'm not sure the study, oh my gosh, but it was basically the boomer generation is the first generation that essentially the elderly were automatically respected. If you look at the silent generation, if you look at all the other generations, the elders had knowledge that nobody else had because it had to be passed down through the generations. So that's why it was always respect your elders, because the elders had knowledge. They were the wise older people. And now, this is the first generation where the boomers are getting to an elderly age where we don't need them to access information. We don't need them to access wisdom because we all have supercomputers in our hands 24 hours a day. So we can access the things and we don't need them for that. So that era of where it's their turn to be automatically respected and they aren't automatically being respected because they may not necessarily be projecting someone that you would necessarily want to respect, right? And
right.
that's what really pisses them off. They feel duped because they feel, well, it's our turn to be the elders that are being respected and nobody respects us. And so they're really pissed off. And I found that to be super fascinating.
Yeah, I think that goes back to technology too, because millennials were the first generation of children to be raised with technology. I mean, now Gen X, some of the youngest Gen Xers were like right on the edge too. Of course, they were there, but mostly it was millennials who were the first ones to get like a computer in their house with the internet connected to it when they were a kid or when they were in high school or something like that. And by I think by 2001, it was like 50% of the nation had a computer in their house.
Yeah.
And that was right when many of us were like figuring technology. We were like interested in technology in many ways. And for some reason, I think because when children are more malleable when they learn young, different languages, etc. So I think we picked up technology and user interfaces and programming language and like just how things kind of work and what buttons do what. We kind of figured that stuff out more quickly. And we became the mentors to our parents in our own homes on how to use their email, how to get AOL, AIM, and all this stuff. And then like in my case, me and my brothers were actually building computers, like the desktop computers for people and for my parents. And so we became the tutors to our parents for software, hardware, internet lingo, and then when social media took off, that's when things went. We really separated because we just started learning everything, so much about what was never taught to them. And in a way, a lot of what we were learning was undoing what they believed and what they told us. And we kind of like grasped it and ran with it at a quick rate because we were young and energetic and we were rebellious. And so, anyway, I just think that some of them really pushed back hard against the shift that we've all encountered over the last 20 something years. And it's just a bad way of life. It makes you hateful and angry and bitter. So
It's stagnation and isolation too. So like you were saying, like they haven't learned how to use technology, a lot of them. And again, please boomers in the comments, if you're not one of them, I'm not talking about you. But
oh
the,
yeah,
the
no way.
ones that are sort of really struggling with technology and things like that, they really don't have the ability to fact check. So we've noticed this happen sort of with the older generations, where the younger generations, like millennials and Gen Z, grew up in the age of the internet, where we're like, hold on, we know not to trust everything that we see. We have the ability to differentiate propaganda from peer-reviewed data. We have that ability because we were brought up that way. Even in our schooling, we had to make sure that what article are we reading, what source is this from. We grew up with that, and boomers essentially grew up in an era where what they watched on TV was credible. They were
Mhm,
watching news media that was actually reporting the news before it was Fox Entertainment Television, before it was just about ratings. It was literally what they saw on television was fact, was
mhm,
believable. And now, in this day and age, under the umbrella of these massive corporations that are just making money off ratings, they don't care what they say, as long as it's pseudo true, as long as it jumps those ratings up. And that's sort of the difference, is that these people genuinely, a lot of them, don't have the ability to go, I wonder if that's true. They just go, oh my God, the immigrants are coming to steal our kids. They think that whatever
mhm.
they are spoon fed is factual. And don't even get me started on Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said in the beginning of all that this obviously isn't every baby boomer. Clearly, like I look at my own data, my own statistics on my own TikTok and my analytics and stuff, and there's many boomers who are a little more self-aware, I think, than others. Way more self-aware, obviously.
Love
So
the boomers, and if you're in the chat, we love you.
definitely, so much. Seriously, it's not about unlove. It's just like, unfortunately, I just feel like we're seeing a divide, and I wish the divide wasn't there. But when we analyze what's causing the divide, there's so many different rivers of negativity flowing into this like gap that's causing it, and it goes both ways. It's not just all the boomers' fault, obviously. We don't always approach things with the most patience and wisdom and empathy, and we don't often spend enough time getting to know what their life was like and what put them in the position that they're in. And so their perspective is valuable to them, and it's valuable to us too if we take the time to understand it. Um, and I think that if we could do that both ways, then we'll make big progress.
That's what I mean. That's what we're trying to do on our channel is educate. I know that's what you do on yours. You're trying to, help people. That's what I try to do. Educate, stimulate, entertain if I can, and
Yeah.
sort of try and help people heal because there's so much sort of damage like from religion, and I see it all the time on my channel. I know you see it on yours. How many people have been quite literally abused by these toxic ideologies for their entire lives? And there are people, I have people that I talk to, they're in their 50s and 60s and they're deconstructing. I get messages from people way later on in life that say, hey, your content really helped me. I'm just recently deconstructing. It's scary. It's hard, and that's got to be scary because you've recently deconstructed as well. That's got to be, firstly, it's super admirable. It's brave to be able to do that, to say I was wrong and completely deconstruct that. But it's also, I'm sure, a very long process. That you have to reevaluate your entire worldview, your entire outlook. Right? It's everything, and
Yeah.
most people aren't ready to do that.
Yeah. There's so many different like prongs to like the healing process, you know? Like for me, and I could be wrong about this, but I think a good starting place is always with recovery and self-care and self-love. And I think I think just the process of learning self-care, self-love, and recovering from abuse, like emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, religious trauma syndrome, just even if you're a Christian, just taking those things seriously and following the exercises and learning to love yourself, that alone might help you see the Bible through a different lens. Like that, we've really Christians have been lied to hate themselves intentionally, like to push themselves down, and because they hate themselves and the sin in themselves, so the sin every day reminds them that they're not perfect. Every day they lust or whatever the heck that they think is sin, which is not even sin. I mean, if there was a natural law, lust would not be on the list. It makes no sense. But anyways, to
Natural
them,
for mammals to want to.
yeah, I mean, if you look at nature,
It's the whole
that's
point.
kind of what happens. Yeah, and by the way, sometimes in nature, the males like each other too. It's pretty
Yeah, that's it's
interesting.
funny you bring that up because I was talking about that. I had Chuck Darwin on last week, and he was talking about so our closest relatives are the chimpanzee and the bonobo, and chimpanzees and bonobos have vastly different behavior despite being very very similar DNA wise, and the bonobos actually engage in sex acts to make up. Like if they get into a tizzy, chimpanzees will often exhibit aggression, and bonobos will actually just perform sex acts on each other, regardless of the gender of the bonobo. So, and they are 98% our genome. So think about that. Chew
Wow.
on that for a while. But yeah, so bonobos will actually two bonobo males, if they get into a fight, they will dangle from the tree branches and then sword fight with their erect genitalia. And this is for
Literally,
educational purposes only. TikTok. This is literally the behavior of bonobos. That's what they do in the wild to reconcile. And this is not just with male bonobos. It can either be male female or female female or male male. So we see these type of homosexual, bisexual, all these different type of sexual behaviors within loads of different species. It's not just humans. So this whole pitch that comes from the religious right, essentially, that homosexuality is wrong, all this stuff is wrong. Well, no, it's not. We see it in the animal kingdom quite literally all the time.
right. It's just normal. It's just natural as everything else. As natural as all the other intricate differences between every species of humankind, and every animal. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even remember where I was going with that point. I like sidetrailed myself. Yeah, it's
We're just talking about instant nature because you guys are taught to lust, which is told to be a sin, which
yeah.
is a construct. Sin is a construct. So the idea of telling mammals, because we are mammals, primates,
Mm,
that connecting with one another intimately or physically is wrong
yeah.
is inherently setting you up to imprison your mind to think that your natural desires and instincts are wrong, are evil, are
Mm,
bad. And not only that, but you're going to be punished forever for feeling
right.
that. And that type of mental torment and anguish it's so insidious as a control tactic. And I see so many people and they come to my page and they say, I'm deconstructing and you guys do what we do is helpful. which makes me want to keep doing it. I know it's, it's the same with you. You're not only sharing your deconstruction journey, but trying to help those along the way
Definitely.
that are in that mental prison.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I was going to ask you actually, what this is like completely off topic, but I just wanted to ask you, what next time we got on a live stream, how did you get into witchcraft, and what does that really mean
Okay, so this
from
comes up on my
from your
live.
mouth?
This comes up on my lives a lot, and I think it's super interesting. And I think that what most people think of witchcraft is like flying around on a broom. And don't get me wrong, I have loads of witch stuff. I've always been super interested in it. But when I was younger, I went through a lot of hardships emotionally. I was adopted by my grandparents, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So growing up was a little tough. And I found in reading about, because witchcraft essentially, if you boil it down, is just women empowerment. And not to say that just women can be witches, anybody can be a witch. I know there's some male witches in my audience. I love you all. But it's more about empowering oneself and manipulating the energy around you, no different than any other religious practice would look at meditation or prayer or any of those things. It's very similar. So once you study enough, and I studied loads of goddesses, the moon signs, my body bleeds with the moon cycles, which is
Wow.
crazy, right? And so
Yeah.
witches, knowledge is power. Witches know these things. We know when we bleed based on the moon. We know when is the best time to make certain foods, when is the best time to make love with your partner because of that. So all of these things would be considered witchcraft. I've always considered myself a witch based on the archetype of the witch. And that's just somebody who uses their knowledge to walk a different path, to sort of take control of my life in a way that's outside the norm. So I've kind
Mhm.
of always just it's more the archetypal basis for me.
Yeah.
When I was
Yeah.
younger, I totally practiced witchcraft. I not so much anymore. I've got loads of stuff. I've got relics. I've got books. People have gifted me witch things for years, which is why I have loads of witch stuff. But Jordan the Grey Witch has always been just sort of the people who are afraid of the term witch are afraid of me, and I love that. So I've always embraced it. So being a feminist, being a witch, those things are derogatory for most misogynists, right? So
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, calling myself a witch, it's reclaiming the power of not only that word, but also spooking all the people who are afraid of it to begin with.
Well, that was one of the reasons. Like, seriously, as soon as I saw some of your content, immediately I was like, "Oh, this chick's smart as hell." And then I saw your name, and I was like, "Psh, instant follow. Come on, that's it's just so good." Like,
I
I'm
love
like, hell yeah, we gotta get it. We got a witch out here. The Christians like won't be able to stand that. It's funny to me because it's similar to. I'm not. And by the way, I'm not saying that. Wicca or witchcraft or anything is a joke by any stretch. By any stretch, I still am. I say like Mike Scott said in The Office. He goes, "I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious." So I'm like,
I still wouldn't mess with you.
yeah. So no, it's yeah, I don't remember the point I was going after, but yeah, it's I don't have any issue whatsoever with that. I think it's really interesting. I think it goes along with a lot of other principles that I've read about in other religions. And I think I agree. I think it has to do with trying to find ways to be in tune with nature, but it does, like in many ways, like you said, represent um, the power of the and I think it's good. I think it's a good balance. I was going to say it reminds me of the Satanic Temple in that it's a balance that they're trying to create where, look, the Satanic Temple, we both know is really a kind of a political activist group more than anything. But in another way, they're a giant troll. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
And
also
that,
a giant troll.
yeah, and that troll is in a way what gives them their power. Everyone pays attention when they're speaking, and when Lucian Greaves is on CNN or Fox, that everyone pays attention because, oh, this is the Satan guy. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I comment every day. Oh, you think you're a witch, and then I get the same day I'll get burn witch burn, and it's like, well, pick one. It's either we're not real or you're terrified of me. But baby, it can't be both. Pick a lane, pick a struggle, and stick to it.
They
I
love
say that all the
you.
time. But the name it's intentionally antagonistic. It's reclaiming our power. It's, again, I say it all the time, knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more powerful you become. And people who had knowledge back in the day were killed en masse. Witches were burned, but not just witches, but women, just people who lived a different life, people who had knowledge of the body, of nature, of herbology. Those are the people that were attacked because those are the people that weren't adding to the population that was feeding the church. And the church wanted people to breed and to come to them, and they certainly didn't want people out in the woods living without them happily and healthily. So
Mhm.
they unalived them and took their land over
Yeah,
and over.
it's like it really is like spiritual. It's like spiritual cleansing or something. It's like genocide in a way, you know.
Yeah.
It's so similar. I mean, if you think about it, it's similar to what happened with the Native Americans here. You know, when they want something and you're on opposition, then you're a demon, so now they're authorized to kill you. You know,
And we see it.
I don't
We
like
see it.
it.
Greg Locke just came out recently with another trope about how all the witches are seeping into our culture, and it's so funny that all this started with him when he got caught messing around with women that all of a sudden he then accused of being witches. I find it really funny that it's the women that you were hitting on and then all of a sudden they're witches. Kind of sounds familiar. Kind of sounds like we've already heard this story before. It kind of sounds like you're guilty and now you want to demonize somebody else for
Could
you.
you be more transparent? I mean, seriously, it's so obvious.
It's super fresh. Well, it's obvious to us, but it's not obvious to the sheep in his his constituents. That they're
What
like,
a
oh, witches, because people by nature are fearful, and I think I was watching another creator talk about our fear is in our human nature, and our fear has kept us alive, right? So there's a reason for our fear as human beings. Our fear, our anxiety. We're afraid of the dark because we can't see a potential threat. We're afraid of high heights because we could fall. We're afraid of water because we could drown. All of the fears that we have as human beings are vestiges of our evolution that kept us alive. So it's very natural to have a fear response about something, but once you understand that thing, your fear will lessen. And that's the problem, is that people fear what they do not know, understandably, but they don't then take the time to get to know whether they should fear that or not. They're just so happy in that fear that's it. They just exist there, and what they've learned, that's it. They've learned it forever. They never choose to reevaluate what they've been taught. They don't fact check. It's, well, I've been told that witches are bad, so witches are bad, and that's all that and then their understanding or misunderstanding of what we are to them is evil, it's scary, it's bad, it's wrong, and that's it. They never reevaluate it. And my existence makes people reevaluate that. The same way with the Satanic Temple. It makes people think, well, why do they call themselves that if they don't believe in Satan? Well, good, ask more questions.
exactly.
Teach yourself. That's exactly the point, is to stimulate a conversation, to stimulate critical thought. And unfortunately not everybody's capable of that, but it does work. It does work. It gets people thinking, it gets people talking, and that's always the goal.
Definitely. That's awesome. Yeah, I always thought that was cool. It's a cool vibe too, you know, just in general.
Yeah, I'm a weird guy. I got a lot of weird stuff. I know I always show on the lives, people are like, what's that in the background? Let me see it up close. And I'm like, I always have to do show and tell because I got a bunch of dead stuff in here.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
that's more so that I'm a nerd as opposed to being a witch. But
I think it's cool. I love that stuff.
yeah,
I think it's
at some point
badass.
your wife commented on my video the other day. Was like, "Oh, we want to see the rest of your collection."
I
So
know.
I gotta make a video. I gotta make a video of all my weird stuff at some point.
Yeah, we were wondering what's going on back there.
Yeah, all kinds of weird stuff. Dead stuff mostly. I mean, I collect taxidermy and oddities, so just a lot of weird stuff that I've collected over the years. And the witchcraft stuff pops in now and again. I think somebody was asking me about this the other day. This is actually really cool. It's brimstone, and
Oh, cool.
this is the science aspect of my witchiness. So this stuff right here, it's actually powdered sulfur, and what it does, it smells like sulfur, mind you. But a little handful of this, discreetly thrown into a fire, will cause the fire to crackle and burn really brightly. Which,
Mm.
again, witchcraft, but in reality, it's just science. It's just chemistry. And that's kind of what
Wow.
witchcraft is understanding that and
Mm.
utilizing it to your advantage. So if I'm at a bonfire and I take a little bit of that brimstone and when I walk by, I go like this and the fire goes like this,
Oh,
All people who have seen it are like, oh shit. And for me, I'm just laughing as I walk away, like,
that's cool, man. I love that.
stuff like that, witches knew that, centuries ago. They understood that things like this happen. But to the layman, to the layperson, imagine a woman like walking by and the fire going like this. They'd have burned me so fast.
Oh man. Oh yeah, definitely.
But for
It's
me, I don't
crazy.
have that stuff. I'm kind of a troll.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's hard not to be sometimes, you know. Sometimes it's just too easy. I mean, I don't know. It's funny. I go through waves where I like want to troll, and then there's waves where I'm like, leave them alone, you know. But it's like, yeah. It's sometimes I wear my Antichrist T-shirt, has like an upside down cross on it. It says 666, and I'll like wear that places. And then I'm like, it's funny on my TikTok because it represents like my brand and stuff. But when I'm out in public in Florida, people are like wanting to kill me.
I
You know, I can tell. And I'm just like, maybe I don't want to get shot with my family while I'm dining, you know.
Well, that's the thing. That fear, again, that fear to the unknown, to something they don't understand, can be dangerous. That fear can be
Mhm.
dangerous because humans are animals and they are going to react to protect themselves. And if what they have been told is that the Antichrist is dangerous, you're dangerous, and they see somebody walking around saying, "Well, I'm the Antichrist," then those people go into fight or flight. They go into self-defense mode. They go into, I want to protect myself, and by doing that, I need to eliminate the threat. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what we're seeing, especially within like the pushback of all these like the Patriot Front and all these neo schmazis that are coming out of the woodwork. They are essentially they're terrified. They're terrified. They feel insecure, and they're overcompensating for that fear and that insecurity by attacking others.
Yep.
And
And you
again,
don't know how people are going to react sometimes. You know, like I watch so many like random stuff on the internet, but and you see like people just react. Some people react in the craziest ways, violent and just obscene ways, and you just never would have expected them to react that way to like a prank or even something small. So it's like I'm at the point now where it's like I want to speak for truth and stand up for what's right and stuff, but I'm not stupid enough to put myself in a potentially dangerous position. And it's crazy to me that when you're on the side of conservative Christianity living in Florida, you don't think anyone's being treated like that. But then when you go to the other side and you try and express yourself and what you believe and feel, or even your humor with the 666 shirt,
yeah,
you realize that it's not a game actually. Like these
no,
people
it's serious.
really want you to die. And you're like, oh damn, what's wrong with you people, man? Like where's the love? Where's the empathy? But like look at Christian history.
They don't have it because they've never been shown it. They grew up within like cycles of abuse where people have, they grew up under abuse and their parents grew up under abuse. So they don't know what love is. They've only been told what not to be. I think a lot of these people don't know who they are. They've never been afforded the opportunity to find out. They've never been able to find out who they are, what they like, who they love, because they've always been told, you fit into this box, and if you don't fit into this box, you're going to burn forever and you're a terrible person. And so they're so afraid that they just jam themselves into that box, whether or not they fit into it. And
Mhm.
we see this happen all the time. The people that are always at pride events with signs like "you're gonna burn," those are the gayest people out there. You're not telling me that those people, they never miss a gay event. You are not telling me that those people are not jealous, that those other people are out there living their authentic lives. You are not telling me that somebody's going to show up to every single gay event and be like, I'm not gay. Sir, you go to more gay events than me, and I'm queer. You're not telling me that you
Oh
aren't.
my
You are
God.
jealous. You are standing on the sidelines. You are mad that you can't be out there in a tutu shaking your ass like the rest of us. And it's awesome. Pride is the best time. It's the best. It's so fun. It's so inclusive. Everybody loves each other. There's so much love that pours out. And then there's always these people, these crusty haters, standing on the sidelines with their signs like, you're all going to burn. And it's like, no, you guys are going to burn. You're the ones that are filled with hate. We're out here living our lives authentically. And you guys you never miss an event. So it's giving projection. It's giving jealousy. It's giving just drop the
Insecurity.
signs and join the parade, my guy. You're here every time anyway.
I know it's true. It's true. Well, think about it. If they believe, like we talked about earlier, that the flesh is sinful, and so they think homosexuality is so evil and so sinful because maybe, like you said, at their most instinctual, baser level, they acknowledge that that's what they want. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like extra evil because it's so like delicious to them. I don't know. Who knows, man? But
Carl Jung said, "What we resist persists." So what someone is resisting the most, it's because it's persisting. It's because if you're pushing back against, and I'm not saying that all homophobes are homosexual. I think that's damaging to say. I don't think
no,
that's the case, but I think a lot of them are. I think a
yeah,
lot of them are, and I think that they are fighting back against it not because they really give a shit what two grown people consensually do in their home. It's because they can't do that. They have been
right.
told they can't do that, so they don't want anybody else to do it either. And that, all boils down to control, lack of knowledge, and, again, a harmful ideology that has been force fed to them to the point where they hate themselves and therefore everybody else.
Hmm. Yep. Preach it. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was on the conservative side my whole life until well over the last years, and I was straight as an arrow the whole time. But I had no desire to go and pick on any. I had gay friends my whole life, even when I was a Christian. You know, I had a ton of gay friends in the Marine Corps who were closet homosexual before it was allowed. Like, I never had a problem with gay people. Like, what's the problem? Like, literally, even when they hit on you, like, and that's the thing is most of these dudes out here are so afraid of gay people, and it's like, dude, they wouldn't want you anyways. Don't worry about it. And on top of that, I've been hit on by a lot of gay people. Why is that anything other than flattering?
It's
Like,
not. It shouldn't
dude,
be. It shouldn't be.
thank
That's the
you.
thing.
Yeah,
I
that's so
think,
nice, bro. Wow, dudes like me. Holy crap, I didn't know that. That's great. Well, I
well,
really appreciate that. You're so nice. Like, why does it have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not like that and stuff like, dude, chill, right?
I think it's an
What I know you're
overcorrection.
not in this position often, but when people propose, give you a compliment, it's not always a proposal. And then
Right.
even when they make proposals, you're allowed to say no and just say thank you. You know, like chill out. It's
So
okay.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that most homophobes are misogynistic and they're afraid that a gay man, by hitting on them, is going to treat them the same way that they treat women when they hit on them. And that's to
Mm.
objectify them, maybe to grab them without their consent. I think that's the fear, is that they are going to be treated how they treat women by a gay man. And that's the thing, is that not to say that the gay community, that there is an abuse within it. I'm sure there is, but there's also a lot more understanding of consent within our community. So, it's talked about more. And within sort of straight communities, you see a lot more men sort of being physical with women, and not just in an aggressive way. Just, and ladies in the comments, sound off when I say this, because I know you're going to agree with me. When a man walks by you, what do? They grab your waist. They put their hand on your waist. I've seen men walk by men all day, ain't never seen a man put his hand on any man's lower back, but they do it to us all the time. And they
Mhm.
do it to us and then don't do it to men. So you're not saying, oh, well, I don't realize I'm doing it. No, you do realize you're doing it. You've just normalized that it's okay to do it to women and not okay to do it to men.
Right. And you mean like in a like you mean like in a like someone that's not your partner or whatever, right? You just mean like
1,000,000%.
yeah, 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 yeah.
1,000,000%, yes. If
Yeah.
I'm walking and a man needs to squeeze by me, the first thing he does is like, oh, excuse me, hun, and they'll put their hand,
Oh
it's
yeah.
always your lower back. It's always like, it's just like, why are you touching
Like
me? It's
who
so
can
weird.
touch me? I know that's such a sensitive area too, so it's probably like extra annoying. Like why are you fucking touching me?
And I've been
Oh
listen.
my gosh.
I've been tall and thin my whole life. Like, I'm the one that they grab. Like, I'm the one that, oh, excuse me, sweetheart. Or I'm the one that they go out of their way to like grab my arm, shit like that. And it's just so. And I've normalized this for a long time when I was younger. Just like, oh, that's just how it is. It's not how it is. Like, that should not be happening to you, especially not all the
No.
time. So now that I'm older, I'm much more. I think a lot more intimidating now, with my demeanor, so it happens way less frequently, and especially not when I'm with Bill. It never happens when I'm
Oh
with him.
yeah. Break
They
their hand.
don't even look at me if I'm with him. It's really funny. We actually, it's funny. We're talking about this. We had a guy, we were just talking about it today. We were in Florida for Valentine's Day a couple years ago, right before COVID. And we were on an elevator going down to dinner, leaving our hotel. And the elevator door opened like this. And I was standing here, and then Bill was standing here. And this guy was waiting to get on the elevator. And it was on Valentine's Day. So I looked nice. Like I was dressed up, I had my makeup, my hair done, and I had a little mini dress on. And the guy was like so stunned by me that he goes, "Oh, Happy New Year." On Valentine's Day. So I start laughing, and then the door keeps opening, and Bill's just standing there, just laughing because he's like, "My man, it's Valentine's Day." And you should see the guy. He was like panicked. He was like, "Oh shit!" Like he didn't know what to say because he just saw like what I'm sure he thought was just like a pretty girl, and just reacted right. And then saw Bill, and then was like, "Oh fuck!" Like so scared, like afraid. And the funniest thing is when this happens, when these type of interactions happen, when somebody sees me before they see him, they always apologize to him immediately. They're like, "Oh, sorry, man. Sorry about that." I'm like, "I'm standing right here. You can apologize for hitting on me, but you're going to apologize to him, right? Okay, because I'm his property, right? Because you're
Yeah,
afraid of him."
yeah, and that's the way they're treating you from beginning to end, like just an object.
And it happens a
They're
lot.
like, "Oh, I didn't know that you were taken." In other words, you were the trophy wife or toy of some other alpha who will beat my ass. So I'm sorry, you know.
I mean, does
What
that not
the?
happen? It has to happen to your wife too. She's like a pretty
Oh
blonde.
yeah.
Yeah, they hit on her, and then you walk in the room like, "Oh fuck."
So yeah. Oh yeah. Well, she tries to introduce me to everyone in her life just so they can like we start off on the right foot. I don't know. I don't know how to explain this, but like, yeah, when they know who I am, they've seen me and met me and whatever in real life, then they never hit on Jackie. But sometimes we're places, like just random places. It could be a salesperson or at the mall or just a dealership or anything. Uh, I think a title company, just random places, and there's always these old men who just completely ignore me. Actually, I had a waiter 2 nights ago. Same thing. We went to Dave and Buster's in Orlando, and I had this waiter who just refused to look at me or talk to me at all, and just was all about Jackie, 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 Jackie. And that she hates that, and I hate that too. Because I'm like, how disrespectful, bro. It's not that you're not allowed to talk to her or anything like that. It doesn't mind. But it's like, why are you treating me like I'm at the kiddie table and like I have no like I don't know. It's just it's annoying.
Is it
But she always, huh?
a waiter or a waitress?
Waiter, waiter.
Sure. Oh, okay. See, I was
Yeah.
gonna say. So here's the thing. So I've been a server before, and when I'm talking to a couple, I always talk to the woman. Always. Because I don't want her to think, "Oh, I'm talking to your man," right? So I'm
Oh
always
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"What's up, queen? What are we having tonight? You and your partner here. What are we doing?" I take the order from her, and then if
Mhm.
he says something, I say, "Yeah, huh?" And then I look back at her. Is that good? Okay, cool. And then I walk away. But for a waiter to do that, that's weird. That's like,
I know. That's what I mean. It's like sometimes we just meet males out who are just they don't even care. They just ignore me completely. They pretend like I don't exist, and they just like tractor beam in on Jackie, and they're just like, "I'll do anything for you. Can I help you with this? Can I carry your bag?" They're like just like obsessed with her, and I'm just like, I used to get like I don't know, I guess you would say possessive when I was like Christian and all this stuff. And now it's funny because I don't feel that way anymore. Now when this happens, I just like think it's so cute. I'm just like,
compliment.
oh,
It's
poor guy doesn't have a chance, you know? It's just like, and plus, I like when Jackie's complimented, Like it shouldn't bother me when another person, male or female, thinks that she's hot. I mean, I'm just like, I know, right?
respectful. There's like a line, right? So if somebody says, because people say to him all the time, like, "Oh, hey man, like totally respectful, but like your girl's gorgeous," like they'll say stuff like that.
Yeah,
But like, there's a line where if they say something to me that's out of line, like something like, "Why
yeah,
would you
yeah.
should have said that?" So there's
So
definitely
yeah,
a line, but we always take it as like a compliment because it's like, "Oh yeah, okay, thank you. That's nice that you
mhm.
say that."
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. It's been nice, like having a relationship where like Jackie encourages me, and even in that way too. Like when girls show me attention, or in any way, it's like positive attention, whether it's physical, emotional, social, whatever. She loves it. Hey, what's up, Bill?
Hey everybody,
What's up, dude?
say
I'm
hi.
listening in. I am very interested in this conversation. It's great.
For real?
I love hearing other men's problems with other men.
Bill, Justin, Bill. We got 3/4 of the posse here.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he,
it's nice to finally meet you, by the way.
Too.
I
yeah.
just followed you on TikTok yesterday as well.
Yes, I
So
added you back. I sorry if I like don't check it much.
oh no, yeah,
He's
yeah.
like he's my biggest fan. He's always in my comment sections, but he doesn't check his notifications. So he's like always in
Oh
my
yeah.
he's in my making sure there's enough what's the word?
I don't. I try to help her
Comments and stuff.
algorithm.
The algorithm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I'm so bad at
Boosting.
checking it though.
Sorry, I'm in your way. You're in my way.
Yeah. Should I sit down?
You can sit down. You can sit down over there. We're just talking about the trials and tribulations of
This guy.
having a hot significant
Having
other.
a hot spouse or partner or whatever. I know it's funny, but yeah, I mean, it really. I think like I don't know if I was insecure or possessive or what. I'm trying to like think back and like really understand myself on that, but I did feel like some kind of jealousy and stuff when Jackie was like showing too much attention in the past. But I really think the more I process it, it really had to do with disrespect. I felt like I was being deeply disrespected, and I guess it was possessive, but now I guess I don't know. Maybe it's because we've been married 10 years, and she's my best friend on earth. She knows everything that no one wants to know about me, and vice versa. Like I just don't see anybody on earth as a threat, literally at all. Like anybody. Like if she could uh, have a long conversation with Brad Pitt, I'm not worried. Like
Wait,
Right.
hold on. Anything about Brad Pitt? Hold on.
I'm just saying, like you get to a point where like when she's like, "Oh my gosh, some celebrity thinks I'm beautiful." I'm like, "See, I told you, babe."
Yeah.
That's how she is with me too. When I'm like, "Oh my God, Jackie, this chick, she just said one of the most beautiful things she's ever seen in her life," and Jackie's like, "I've been trying to tell you that."
Do that for
Like,
10 years.
she's like, it doesn't bother her whatsoever. And I think her not being bothered, jealous, or possessive also makes me more the same way. So maybe she helped me to like open up and just relax because I mean, she's just, yeah, yeah.
Again,
If anything, she likes it.
that goes back into like insecurity being an indicator emotion. It's letting you know that there's something that might need worked on there, right? So like for him and I, it's always about communication. Like we communicate like
Mhm.
thoroughly all the time. If there's something wrong with him, I usually know it before he even communicates it to me.
Yeah,
Even
you
if
can
he,
tell.
yeah, you can tell.
Body language.
But also like we talk, and I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, in modern relationships. Because I was even talking to Jackie about this. I think a lot of people like they're together out of convenience. They don't want to be with their partner. They just don't want to be alone. And I think that's the problem is that these people are stuck in relationships that they don't even really necessarily like their partner. They're just too insecure to not be with them. They don't want
That's
them. They
true.
don't want anybody else to have them either. So they're just like resentful, like in this like
Mhm.
unfulfilling relationship, holding the other person hostage because the other person thinks that they're okay, but they're not. And I see that more often than not these days. I see so many people that are just like together just cause.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that. In my like first marriage, we were like married way too young. Like I married like 21 and she was 19, and then we were Christian, and from a Christian, she was a Christian's daughter. I mean, a pastor's daughter. So yeah, like I felt very stuck. Within 2 years, I was married to her for 8 years. Within 2 years, I felt like I was trapped, stuck, and my life was just gonna be miserable forever. And literally,
You were married
when
for 8 years and you felt trapped after two.
oh yeah,
So you were miserable
hmm
for 6 years.
oh yeah, we
Wow.
fought a
That's
lot.
tough.
Oh
Yeah.
no. And you were young, right?
And I was deploying a lot, like I went to the Battle of Fallujah, which was life changing. And when I came back from that, she had just delivered our first baby. So when I turned 21, and then 13 days later, I had my son, and he was born 2 months premature. So she had this like life and death event while I was gone. And so anyway, I came back from the war, and I had no idea how to process that, and I kind of compartmentalized everything for several years, and I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. We just never really connected. She was never interested in what I went through at all, and on any level. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that was like for me, I felt betrayed and alone in that because I had so many emotions and so many things I needed speak and process and heal from, and she just wasn't interested, you know. So yeah, I don't know. We grew apart pretty fast, and we only got along when we were drinking. Literally, when we had a couple glasses of wine, and we might get along for a couple hours. It was terrible. So yeah, when she saw, you're right, because when she saw girls showing too much interest in me, um, which was, you know, pretty much always, she was super, yeah, she was super possessive, angry, jealous, like suspicious, like going through my phone, like, are you talking to this girl? Are you fucking her? And all this shit. I'm like, whoa, 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 what the, you know, any sign that a girl like liked me, she'd freak out.
Now,
And
once
it's
you
just,
decided,
yeah,
would she like do those things, but like be flirty with other guys and things like that, or was it
yeah, she would
projection?
flirt with other guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I've been through that.
and it
Projection.
didn't even.
It's every accusation is a confession.
I know. I found out. Look, she held me under. Look, I was like hyper Christian, right? So we had a software on my computer that showed her all of my history of like not just like search history, internet, but like it was a click thing. So like she could see every action I took on the computer. And there was only one computer in the house, and I had this like porn spyware thing, and it sent her
But
She
in
you
my.
weren't allowed to
logger.
watch it.
No, no, no,
Holy
not
crap.
looking porn at all.
That's
Yeah,
controlling, yeah.
man.
Not to say that it's a good thing to watch, but two adults. It's like if I'm like, oh hey, do we want to watch some?
But
You
Yes.
can, right? Like that.
to try and control, that's absolutely
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so but the thing is, like, she held that over my head for years that I was struggling with porn. I mean, I was like my young 20s, and I only had sex with one girl ever in my life, and it was my wife who I didn't like anymore, and vice versa. You know, I'm like young, dumb, and full of you know what. So anyway, but the thing is, the fact that she held it over me made me feel bad about it for years, and then I found out that she was looking up porn the whole time too.
Yeah, of
no fucking
course. Of
way. See
course.
that's the craziest part. You can't be bitching at somebody for something you yourself are doing. And in reality, it probably would have been so much healthier if you guys just said, "Hey, do you want to watch this together?"
Who cares? I know it's like
Put it
such
on
a
and
stupid
you're
thing.
doing. Like that's like a healthy way to indulge, but sort of like that secrecy aspect of like I'm not doing it, you're not doing it, but we're both really doing it and lying to each other. Like, oh man, there's only one place
Mm.
for that to go.
Yep.
Crash and burn.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of relationship is that where I'm like under lock and key to my spouse? It's kind of like I got a taste of what men do to women,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
you know?
You went through a shitty one.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy similarities, absolutely.
Oh
That's why I
really?
said when I was talking to you and also to Jackie, like the parallels between all four of us, especially like upbringing wise and past relationships, is pretty. There's a
Wow.
lot of them. It's a lot. We've definitely dealt with a lot of the same things, especially this one. I mean, I had a couple crazy exes. We've all at least got one, right? You've all at least got one ex that you're. Not all of my exes are terrible, but man, a couple of them are pretty terrible. Where I'm just like, what the
Yeah.
fuck was I thinking?
But it makes you crazy, right? Like you start reading about psychology, you start learning things. So you're like, is it me? Is it something I'm doing? Like, why am I being treated this way? And you go down this rabbit hole. And when you're young,
Bingo.
you don't know. You don't know that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a form of narcissistic abuse that I wasn't doing. So I was trained to receive. So, and also I found out over time that I'm like an empath. So I'm like hypersensitive, and I'm always trying to seek to please people who are close to me. Like give up any, well, you know how it is. I'll give up anything for anybody, and I'm easily taken advantage of. And that's why I had to learn to say no to people over time, But I didn't know that any about myself, and I was raised by narcissists, and so I was attracted to a narcissist naturally, and I married one, and so yeah, I think you're spot on, man.
Yeah, you just normalize it, right? You think it's normal, all that
Yeah.
Mm,
behavior. And you have low confidence as well when you're younger for some reason. You don't have much experience with the world.
mm,
So it's when you're a people pleaser, you get taken advantage of even more. It's terrible.
mm,
There were so many times when he and I got together that he would just say, if something happened in a situation. I remember, for instance, like the car broke down. We had to wait for AAA to come tow us, and he's just like, "You are so cool about this situation." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, you're just so cool. You're not like freaking out or anything." And I'm like, "What would me freaking out about something that's completely out of both of our control how would that benefit this situation? And he's like, it's just not what I'm used to. Like,
Oh yeah.
you're totally cool and supportive, and like in my past they would have thrown a huge fit, it would be a big anxiety, like it would be all this a big problem. And I'm like, how would that help us drive away faster?
Mhm.
It's not going to help, you know. And I think I was like, let's go. Well, we walked to Dairy Queen, we got Dairy Queen, and we came back in time for AAA to come get us. Like, it was fine, it was a fine day.
Right.
But there were so
Yeah.
many times, like, you know, when you go from a very, very toxic relationship, especially when you come from a toxic upbringing, whether that be religious or not, you normalize that toxicity. And when you normalize toxicity, you think that not only is that something that's supposed to happen, but you also feel like that's kind of like what you deserve. You're like, oh, well,
Oh
this
yeah.
is what my parents dealt with, this is what my family dealt with, so this is what people deal with. And then when you get into a healthy relationship of somebody who actually loves and respects you, you're like, this is weird. Like,
Right.
this is so.
Yeah, because you're mentioning you two fought all the time, right? Like, and then you think that's normal, and then you get into a real relationship, and it never happens. It's very, very rare.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't.
Seriously.
We've maybe disagree, like had a disagreements. Like I can count on one hand the
Yeah.
time that, like, not to say we don't discuss things, but saying like actually like disagreements. Like I can literally count on one hand, and it's never ended with like
Yeah.
slamming doors or physicality
Yeah,
or
right.
anything like that, you know. And I had
Cool.
normalized that from my past relationships a lot, you know. Men being physical with me in numerous relationships that I had. You know, I had one ex-boyfriend that I was at a party once, and I was sitting on the couch talking to a group of people, and he was like by the bar talking to somebody else, and there was a guy sitting next to me. There was a girl on the other side, but there was a guy sitting next to me, and I was talking to him, and he came over, grabbed me by my arm, and pulled me, wearing a dress, mind you, over the couch and onto the floor in front of this whole party, and was like, we're leaving.
Whoa. What the
And
fuck?
I
Holy.
still dated him for like 3 more months. At that
Whoa.
time, because I was 25 and I didn't know any better. I had normalized that type of physical abuse, and I didn't realize, like, oh wow, this is absolutely not okay in any way. So like that, you know, and that's just one of the things, you know, that's the one that I can actually talk about on here. There's been loads of others, but you know, I'm a small woman. I'm pretty easy for a bigger guy to pick up, and this guy wasn't even that big. But you know, that type of behavior I had normalized from childhood. So I
Mm.
didn't even realize until I got into my later 20s when I started going, oh, wow, none of this is normal. None of this is okay. And then you really have to reevaluate your choices and who you are with and who you allow to be around you. And, you know, this ties into like what we talk about on our channels is that, you know, people that are indoctrinated from a very young age and they are taught that this is normal, this is how life is. It takes a really long time, a lot of work, a lot of bravery, a lot of self-reflection to sort of grow out of that and go, oh fuck, I deserve better. I'm going to be better, and I deserve better. And it takes, you know, a lot of self-work to get to a point where you feel that you deserve that.
Right. That brings up another point. We always talk about, like, it's terrible when you go through that at the time, but you grow from it. You learn from it. You become such a better person. Like, I remember in that horrible relationship, I got cheated on. And then in that mindset, I just thought of, I'm going to become such a good person. I'm going to keep working on myself to where it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just going to become a beast. Like, nothing will faze me. And if I have a partner that's disrespecting me or doing bad things, it's on them. And you learn that from psychology. It has nothing to do with me. I'm doing the best I can every day. Like, I'm trying to better myself. I can't do anything else. So even if it
Exactly.
sucks, yeah, you grow from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you get to a point where you like become self-aware enough, studying things like psychology, that you like, and you know, like some people are willing to look in the mirror and really face their biggest fear, which is themselves, and say, "Look, I'm not going to be afraid of admitting my flaws, and I'm going to make myself better, whether that's physically or mentally or whatever way." But other people, it like just scares the shit out of them. They cannot like self-reflect because their ego is hiding behind this massive wall of cognitive dissonance, you know? Um, so it's
Enemy. Yeah, your ego's the enemy, man. And people
mm,
just really, it's a self-defense mechanism though. An ego is sort of
yes,
that outer veneer that they project forward because they're so insecure and terrified of people seeing who they really are and perhaps not liking who they really are, that ego is what they put in front of themselves to protect themselves from that judgment that they are not secure enough to handle. And people like us who are on the internet every day, you can't do what we do. Be insecure. Like, you cannot put yourself out there, talk about controversial topics, looking like us, and expect to not get hammered with insults every day, which
Yeah.
we both do, right?
Oh,
So that's the thing, is that those people aren't. That's why they put their ego out front, because they aren't ready for people to see who they really are, because maybe they don't know how they really are.
Yeah, it's
that's
really
true.
introspective. It's really hard. I remember when I first started doing it, it's really hard to kind of have constructive criticism towards yourself. It hurts, if you're being brutally honest with yourself. Most people aren't willing to go through that.
Yeah. It sucks. And this sucks because you and I, we all know, for those of us who are willing to grow, that like it hurts, but it hurts like in a weird. If over time it hurts so good, like because
We call those sores.
as you heal from it, like I don't know, you kind of learn to forgive yourself because you're taking steps now to be something better, and that kind of gives you permission to forgive yourself, and it also gives you permission to empathize with other people and forgive them for having the same issue. And yeah, so it's like when you're unwilling to be introspective, it's easy to just be stay in this like state of hating yourself and hating everyone else as a result, like and having no empathy.
Having hatred towards other people always stems from hatred for oneself. I don't have time to hate other people. Hate is such a strong emotion. Like, for me, even terrible people that I think about, like, there's very few people that I would consider that I hate. And in reality, for the most part, I pity them. I pity
Yeah,
those people. Like, and that's the main emotion that I feel. And it does cause anger. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely people out there where I'm like, the world would be better without them. But hatred is such a specific emotion that I don't have the heart to hate something that
Right.
right.
badly.
It also ages you.
It does age
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's like I don't have the energy for it. It, yeah, it's. I totally agree. I totally
Even
agree.
with that,
I
like
can't. I couldn't have said it better.
the whole cheating in relationships thing, I don't understand. How do people have the energy to keep doing that? Like, it's enough of my day with this one. How am I going to have somebody on the side? It makes no sense to me.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I cheated on my ex-wife like many times, and it was because she wouldn't have sex with me, and I didn't really want to anyways, and we hated each other.
We were just watching
So.
a movie on last night where somebody was like weaponizing sex, and I was like, so they were like, "Oh, I'm mad at you, so I'm not gonna have sex with you." I was like, "I will never," and I made a point to say to him during the movie, I was like, "I will never do that.
Yeah.
Sex is not to be bartered between couples. Not that
I
he's
agree.
entitled to sex, but I will never use it as a weapon against
Right.
him. I'll never say you didn't do the dishes, so I'm not gonna have sex. Absolutely not. I'm gonna say go do the dishes, and then I'll have sex with you." But like, it's never gonna be.
That's
It's
funny.
never gonna be. I'm withholding. That's abuse. That's punishment.
Yeah.
And it's not to say
Oh,
that
yeah.
you are at all ever entitled to your partner's body, but to be in a relationship with somebody, you guys have to be on the same page with your physicality and the frequency of your physicality, and to make something work for both parties. Because if one person is super
Yeah.
hypersexual and the other person maybe not,
Yeah.
then
It's
you've got to
not
come
gonna
to
work.
an agreement where something might have to, be done there, and to the discretion of that individual couple, right? So I don't judge anybody. I know
Yep.
there's a lot of poly couples out there, stuff like that. But for your ex-wife to say, well, I'm not going to have sex with you, and then
Mhm.
expect you to just completely abstain, that's also abusive. So what you
Oh,
did
yeah.
was wrong, but what she did was wrong to cause the wrong, right? So there was so much
Yeah.
wrong in that situation.
That's how the
Yeah.
toxicity is, though. It keeps has momentum, right? Like, it just keeps going and going. You fight every day. You build more resentment. You keep doing things behind each other's backs. It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the biggest mistake I made was not. I was a Christian, so I thought I needed to like salvage my marriage, even if I'm the one doing something, secretive and shady. I felt like I needed to. In the back of my head, I thought, well, I still need to clean my act up and not be like this, and take care of my kids and be at home and be married and not get divorced because that's like super evil and all this stuff. So it was like a weird, it's like weird. It's like living in a super hypocritical mindset in many ways. But what the mistake, if I could go back and wake up and be who I am today, and I'm in that situation, I wouldn't have sex with anyone else. I would just file for a divorce,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
straight up.
You
exactly.
don't know what you don't know, right? That's the part of growing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I would
listen,
just,
I've made mistakes in the past too. Again, I was with the wrong person. You go about it the wrong way. You live and then you learn. But with like
mhm.
some, like it's just not going to happen now. Like within the relationship that we have. If he wanted to bang somebody else, I'd be like, let's go get one. I'll bring it. Let's go. Sure. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I mean that's yeah. Jackie's the same way.
You know, like yeah, you want it? You want a blonde? Cool, let's go find one. I'm down for that. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like it's never gonna be outside of our discretion, our knowledge. Like it's never gonna be secretive. It's never gonna be cheating on people. You know,
Right.
and I think that's the most
Same.
important thing. Is that's the cancer to the relationship is the dishonesty.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
it's not a hit. It's we've talked about this before, but I'm saying like the last thing I would want would be for him to be like, oh man, you know, we've been together for so many years. I'm really just want some strange, and then he goes out and finds it without me. I'm gonna be like, hold on, I also want strange. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I also would like to participate in the strange. So
to watch this. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where we
yeah,
are, and we are fully aware that that might not work for everybody. But you
yeah,
know,
totally.
that's something that each individual couple has to get to that bridge if they cross it. But the last thing that couples should be doing is sort of going behind each other's backs, and like that's the
Exactly.
problem is that the lying, the dishonesty, the cheating. That's the aspect. It's not the physical act. You can do that with consent with your partner.
Mhm, mhm,
It's the lying. It's all that stuff. That's what causes the fracture.
exactly.
But
Totally agree.
did you have a keylogger on your thing? Like I'm still like processing that. Did it like capture all the keystrokes you did? Like
Yeah, I literally would have a log that said I opened which program and then what section in the program I would click on, and like she could actually watch a video and watch my mouse move and open shit and stuff like that.
Wow, that's spyware.
Yeah, it was straight up. Well, I like my pastor. See, I can, it's so crazy, man. I went through so many different types of church discipline in my life. I never really processed it the way I am now. Like even right now for the first time, so much of it is crazy. But I submitted myself to the authority of the church body and the elders, and they would assign me tasks for self-improvement and make me do book reports and make me do fasts and to all to prove that I'm like working on myself to try and be a godlier man. And especially when I would, so they found out that I was looking at porn, and so
The church
my
did. The
the
church
elder
found out.
would, what's that?
The church found out you were looking at porn.
Oh yeah, because my ex-wife would tell on me to the church. Hmm. That's where I'm telling you, our relationship was over at year two, but she literally ratted on
Oh
me.
my God! She told the
Like,
church your wife narked on you to the
mhm,
church.
yeah,
Oh man, is that normal? No, I'm so I don't mean to. Is that normal? Like, is that something that like should be done? Or I feel like a wife should not tell on the husband. That's like against the Christian values, right?
yeah. To her, it was like, um, you're a brother in Christ, and I'm worried about your sin, and we need to get help. And it was more like, um, you know, she would kind of like convince me that I need to, with her, tell the church. You see what I'm saying? Like, um, now when I cheated on her, eventually she just went straight to the church about it, obviously. But when she found out I was looking at porn, she convinced me that I needed to turn myself in, essentially.
You were in one.
Huh?
You were in a porn, or you were into porn.
No, I was watching it, yeah,
I
at
thought
the
you were
time.
saying you were in one. I was like, hold on, what's the title? We'll just have to listen.
If I ever was into porn, I wouldn't tell you, and I wouldn't tell you what it was called or my name.
So you're not
No
denying
offense.
it. You're not
It's just
denying it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
no, yeah. Um, uh, yeah, I took it off of the internet, so I'm not just kidding. But anyway,
Whole chat is gonna be like,
what? No, but seriously. So yeah, I submitted myself to the church like authority, and they did checkups on me, and I would literally go in before the board, and there'd be like six elders, like dudes in their 50s or 60s who have been like serving the church their whole life, and I would like sit on a panel and have to answer a bunch of questions and try and convince all of them that I like am taking my religious discipline seriously, that I'm really actually trying to um, fix my marriage and not lust after women. And I had to read these books about how like how damaging the porn industry is and do all these reports. It's so stupid.
which is
But
it is damaging. But that's crazy though. That's crazy to think that like she went to the church to like tell on you. As
Mhm.
opposed to like that's just that's so nuts to me. Like,
Oh
why
yeah,
involve other people in your relationship?
I know. Well, once my trust was betrayed in that way, she felt like I betrayed her trust because to her it's personal. Like, and I know because she told me over and over again. When I look at another girl and I'm like, oh, I'd like to have sex with her, she's to her, that means that she's not good enough for me. And in thinking that way, like she doesn't really understand men, I think, in many ways, because that's not the case. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. At the same time, I will say, when Jackie and I got together, I became uninterested in porn for a very long time. So, but,
That's a good
um, but
tell Jackie
yeah,
to shut up.
Yeah.
yeah, I think she's in the other room listening. But yeah, but literally,
She's probably
yeah,
like,
I know. She's like, oh God, I didn't know he was gonna go on here and talk about our porn and our sex life and all this.
I talk about ours all the time. It's fine.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice being able to just be genuine and honest and not be worried about like judgment from God or from your friends like you guys and things like that. It's just, to me, this is a whole new experience. It's like I feel like I don't know, a kid in a candy shop or
You
something.
get to be a human like for the first time. Like,
Yeah.
it's tethered, right?
Yeah. I mean, literally, my whole channel is just built off of me trying to process my own thoughts about things. And yeah, I'm still processing. I'll be continuing to process and learn and grow. But yeah, I mean, you guys are literally like some of the coolest people I've ever met, and it just so happens like
I know they're moving up.
that you're
That's
the first atheist. Well, yeah, I mean, I have some acquaintances that are atheists that I've talked to and met offline that are really cool. I love them; they're awesome too. But I think like you guys are the first couple that like are in the same place that we are in many ways, and it's so cool how empathetic you guys are. Especially Bill. Well, you were Christian before.
I wasn't I wasn't super religious. My
His
family is like there's
family,
angels everywhere and
they're
everything,
Christian,
but
but they're not like they don't go to church. Like,
no, like I grew up I played Magic the Gathering, they were scaring my
Oh
parents like, oh, are those demonic cards, things like that. I was never that heavily into it whatsoever.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, it's really cool. It's really interesting to me that you guys, of all people, would become so, I guess, involved in thinking about all the, you know, Christian religious indoctrination stuff, and like but also being so empathetic about. It's just interesting. Like it's really cool. Yeah, I mean, being is like a really weird thing. And so for you guys, it's just cool. Meeting you guys, and you guys weren't part of the particular one I was, so it's
In my head
it's
it
fun.
comes down to morals, right? Like so it's like if you have good morals, you treat people well, uh no matter what happens, you're gonna be in a good place, right? Like as long as you're good to other people. I kind of go by the golden rule. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily believe in karma, but kind of. Like if you're rude to some people, you never know down the line how they might affect you, might affect your work. I kind of do believe in karma in that regard. Like
Yeah,
just be careful on whose toes you step on or what you do.
mhm.
It could have like a butterfly effect in the future. So just try and be good as much as you can.
I agree. I
and then
totally
for
agree.
me, I've just always been a little atheist troll.
I know.
But I've always had a very strong aversion to the church, especially because I grew up in the Catholic Church, which is like the worst one of the worst ones, I should say. And I've always sort of had the perspective. I was raised by an atheist, so I've always had that sort of open mind to. He made it very clear, like this is nonsense, Jordy. Like don't listen to this, crazy. He
Right.
would but he would put it in a way that was like, well, do you think there can be a man that lives in the sky? Like it was. He's
Mhm.
like, does that make sense to you? We know what clouds are made of. It's evaporated water. You think a guy can sit on evaporated water? That sounds really weird, doesn't it? Yeah, it's because it doesn't make sense. So he always framed things for me, even from a very young age, because I was a little neurodivergent child that never stopped asking questions. And bless him, he answered every question that I had, with usually other questions, asking me about how I felt about that. So I was very, very lucky to have grown up in the in a critical thinking household, in a household that he was teaching me scientific theory, he was teaching me about physics and astronomy and scientific method, and I was learning these as a kid. My grandfather was trying to break down A Brief History of Time to me when I was like 9 when it came out, right? Like he was trying to
Wow.
translate this to me as a kid because I couldn't read it, but he was trying to explain to me what it meant. And I think coming from that aspect and then seeing on the other side of my family how damaging the church was, that's really where my aversion to it came from a very, very young age. We were watching George Carlin when I was a kid. So, like, hearing that,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, like growing up. So, I've always had sort of aversion to the system. I've always had an aversion to authority in general. I've never
Hmm.
really liked men. But no, it's just like in the patriarchy, right? Like, I've always sort of had that.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
and it just sort of and then when I didn't anticipate on having this platform, so I think that's why I was leading back into this. My platform sort of came. I made a video about abortion rights prior to Roe being overturned. Mind you, this was before that. It was the first video that I made here on TikTok, and it went viral. And so I got this huge community of people who were feminists, pro-choice, pushing back against religion, and religion is essentially is the antagonist in this equation. It's what's causing us to be stripped of our rights, which is sort of facilitated the growth of my platform. Is that I was like, fuck this, fuck this. This has to stop, and that's kind of where I got my audience from. For those of you who've been here from day one, hi, I love you. Hi, welcome. If you're new here, welcome.
Yeah. You got a
But
couple OGs in here.
but that's kind of where it
Day
started.
one day.
I just started making content about that, and then I found this whole deconstruction community, and then I started getting messaged daily based on people saying, thank you, what you've helped me, and so that's kind of where I've gone from here. Like, well, now it has a purpose, not only to fight for our rights and the activism aspect, but also to help people to open their minds, to have them critically think. Just think about it. That's all. Put it from a perspective that isn't coming from the indoctrination lens of you can't do this and be and controlling people via fear and anxiety and shame and guilt, and it's just so insidious. And I really want
Oh
to
yeah.
help break people free, and that's how I met you. You were I think you stitched one of my videos or something. I can't remember, but I was like, oh,
Mhm.
look at this pretty boy with his hair. So I followed you straight away.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I totally get that.
And now we have this
I totally get that. Oh, go ahead.
community. That's what I'm saying. We have this cool community
Oh,
where I've got to meet really cool people like yourself, and
oh, thank
loads
you.
of cool people. I got another really cool creator coming out on Sunday. He's going to talk, and it's just like, oh man, it's so cool that all these people even just want to hang out with me. I'm like, I'm such
I
a
know.
dork.
Mm.
Like, yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, you're more than a dork. I don't know. Yeah, it's you're genuine, and that's like what people crave is like honesty and genuine, like I don't know, and perspective. I think you mentioned that earlier is perspective. Like some people really, really, really just need to learn like some perspective, and I think that because you're coming at it from a lifelong atheist perspective, your way of seeing what we're used to seeing is completely different, and so sometimes it's good, especially for me deconstructing and other people deconstructing. You like help us to be like, hey, what you're holding there is dangerous, and I'm like, it is, And you're like, yeah, that's a sword. And you're like, I thought this was a demon slayer. You're like, no, you can really actually end lives with that. You're like, like it's almost like you're helping people realize like what you're saying is that you want to be okay with slavery, mass genocide, xenophobia, sexism, like the mass slaughter of people. Like you're saying that that's good. Do you hear yourself? You know, at some point you're just like, go, yeah, it doesn't really seem good, does it? It's just, it's really good because to you it's obvious. To us coming out of Christianity, it's not so. We're like processing one at a time. Like, oh yeah, maybe that is stupid. Yeah.
They get you. You can't see outside of them until you take them off, and then I'm sure you see so much at once that it's probably overwhelming. So, like for you, like how long have you been, let's say, disbelieving? Or is there something particular that you were just like, because I remember we talked about this a little bit last time, where you were saying you were reading sort of the Bible truths thing that you did, and you were sort of looking at the inconsistencies in the Bible. Is there a moment where you were just like, holy shit, this is all bullshit?
I'm gonna get some food.
Okay, baby.
I'm gonna get some food. It was nice meeting you.
All right, man. Good. Yeah, nice to meet you, bro.
See ya.
Yeah, yeah, we'll hang out again soon. We'll do a Zoom or something for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the exact moment was. I honestly don't. I wish I could pinpoint it. I wish I would have written it down. Like this is the moment that I realized it's bullshit. But um, I don't know. I make decisions on like life-changing beliefs very fast once I'm convinced. Whereas some people I know will like mull it over and keep studying it for a long, long, long time. Um, but I will literally become hyper obsessed, like, to the point of, yeah, I'm also like to an extent, I show symptoms of ADHD as well. And one of those things is I become hyper focused on certain things for like weeks at a time. And so I just went through a period where, I mean, it was a few months where I just hardly popped my head out from my office and I was just studying and reading and digging in. And at some point, I remember just walking downstairs and telling Jackie, like, I have a whole list of articles and videos I want to show you. And I think that every single bit of all of this shit is bullshit, actually. And she was just, I mean, she literally has been so uh, supportive the whole way. She was just like, wow. Immediately she was just like that. This is groundbreaking, and it's almost like she took it with the assumption that obviously I wouldn't say that for no reason. And she gave me the benefit of the doubt. And we went through all the information together, and I don't know. It's like once we realized it, we continued to study and study and study for probably another year before I even said anything to anyone. But during that time, what's that?
You guys were deconstructing together, you and Jackie together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing it together. But I think we both, early on in the deconstruction process, both kind of came to the recognition like we need to come at this as if it's all fake, and we need to prove it instead of coming at it like it's true and then trying to disprove the attacks. Like, because I already know from experience that that's how you never change. That's how you build straw man arguments and bad perceptions. The best way to really make a decision is to like take on the mindset of the opponent and really try and like come from the perspective of like, look, this is bullshit. All of it is. I'm so sick of. I found out Paul was BS or his writings were BS. I found out that Jesus was BS, and then I was like, okay, we're starting from the point of it's all BS until I can prove otherwise, and I'm going to try really, really, really hard to prove otherwise.
And
And
trying really hard to prove otherwise for 2,000 years and have failed.
I know. But like I said, for the months that we were going digging through all this information and the apologetics and the books and the articles, we were kind of like along the way, it became easier and easier and easier to just be like, oh, this is bullshit. Oh my gosh, this is BS. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, just the implications, the social implications dawned on us pretty quick. Jackie, I mean, we've had thousands of conversations, and I remember having some of them being so basic, like, so does um, this mean that it's not wrong to be gay, right? And I'm like, I can't think of a single reason why I would be. And we like thought about that for like an hour and talked about it for a few minutes. And, we're both like, yeah, I mean, like, what the fuck? I can't believe that Christians are forcing people to, in many cases, to not be like who they are because of their sexuality. It like dawned on us. We like these lights started popping on, and we're just like, whoa! And so it kind of became addicting to learn the new truth and gain the empathy. It was addicting. Like so now I love it.
Yeah, you get addicted to
Yeah.
that power, to that knowledge. You just want to continue. I'm sure, I'm the same way. If I find a topic that I'm interested on, which is usually animals or science, the different fields like that, I will learn
Mhm.
everything about that topic to the point where it's nauseating because I'll regurgitate all the information when asked, right? But that it has to be so. It's interesting to hear somebody go through this later in life because again, a lot of people that follow me are deconstructing, and it's so fascinating from my lens, from knowing that it's been bullshit the whole time, right? And then seeing people go, hey, wait a minute. it's bullshit. And I'm like, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Yes. Welcome. Like, it's so cool to see. And I see so many women sort of breaking from the constraints of these patriarchal, misogynistic control groups like religion, and going and diving face first into witchcraft, which again is self-empowerment. It's coming to your own power and loving yourself and being one with nature and all these things. And it's so beautiful to see, and I see it all the time on my channel, which is such a great benefit of doing what we do, because you do get to see people's process. You get to see this all the time, not just you, but loads of other people that are really going through this, and it's really cool to see. It's really cool to help facilitate that as well, not just to see it, but to also be a part of it, because
Yeah,
they're
totally.
your journey and your words to really help them, navigate their journey. And
Exactly.
it's really I'm really grateful for all of this, the whole platform, for all the people that I've met through it, and just sort of continuing to be able to see where it comes from here.
Me too. Thank you for the milkshake, whoever just sent that. I think it was Tyler.
Also, I've kept you on here. It's been a while, so I don't want to keep you any longer. But it's just been a really good conversation. I know that my chat has been really cool and enjoying it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. No,
always have you
probably.
on. I wanted to get you on, obviously, after last week.
I know. Like, I feel like we could just go on and on and on forever. So at
Yeah,
some point we have to uh, have to call it. But
back in.
yeah, I'll probably just go ahead and hop off. But like, I hope we can get together a couple more times in the future. It's cool. I forgot, I didn't realize until today, actually, until last time, that we could actually both be live at the same time and still, uh, like, I don't have to be on yours and vice versa. And we
Right.
can like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be on
So
at the
it's
same time and not be co-hosting. I've been doing, I've been really having, it's so much easier for me to co-host with people, because then, it's like 50-50 distributed with like talking. But also, like, I like featuring like really cool creators, and I've been doing that quite a lot. So like I said, I've got one coming out on Sunday. I've been trying to do sort of deconstruction and then science creators, like getting them on. But well, I'm always happy to have you. You're always welcome back at any time, of course. Come talk with
excellent.
us. I know people like, if you, loads of my comments have been about our hair, so.
I know it's all I hear about all day, pretty much.
I know.
So yeah, well, thanks, man, Jordan. I owe so much of my like love and support from this community and opportunity to you and people like you. So I'll be happy to go live with you any day. So
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, say thanks to Justin, and we'll definitely get him back on here at some point. Me and Bill are gonna go hang out for a bit. And
same.
tell Jackie I said hi. I hope she's watching. Hello,
Okay.
love. And we'll definitely get him on again. And for those of you who want to join me on Sunday, it's 11 a.m. I'm going to have Graham Letts on here. We're going to be talking about science. It's going to be fun. So please join us again for that if you are free. Everyone, again, thanks to Justin at Bullet Holes in the Bible. And we will see you next time. Bye,
Bye,
y'all.
guys.